I spoke to a Portuguese police officer earlier who's part of the search teams and said, had a shovel in his hand. What are you looking for? And he sort of shrugged his shoulder. And I said, do you think something has been buried? And he shoved his shovel into this rock hard ground and it didn't make a dent. And he sort of laughed with a wry laugh, thought, of course, something hasn't been buried here. So it's a difficult search, perhaps has been described a last roll of the dice for those who believe that Christian Brueckner has a role to play in Madeleine's disappearance. The search, Louis, is focused behind me. It's 120 acres of scrubland. You might be able to see its bushes, trees, it's hard, rocky ground. Over to the west is Prior Deluge, about a 40-minute walk from where Madeleine McCann disappeared in 2007. Over to the west is the town of Lagos, and about a 15-minute walk behind me is the farmhouse where Christian Brueckner, the chief suspect in the disappearance, was living when Madeleine McCann was abducted from her bedroom. So this is a key location, and I'm looking out over the Atlantic Ocean. About 50 yards away is the steep cliffs leading down to the sea.
And why have they decided to come back to this scene now? Have we got any idea of whether they've got new information, something new has come up in the case?
I think the key point of the timing is in 3 months' time, Christian Brueckner, this man at the centre of the German police investigation, is released from prison. It's now or never if they're going to find any evidence which can link him to Madeleine's abduction. He, of course, denies any wrongdoing. We know that he travelled around this part of the Algarve. He had a camper van. A memory stick has been found with pictures of him at this area. 2 years ago, there was a big search at a reservoir about 30 miles away, which he described as his little bit of paradise. And that became the focus of searches because there was photographs of him there. There is this area, it's intriguing. It's basically an abandoned old village. There are a large number of ruined farmhouses, almost buried away amongst this scrubland. It's sometimes actually difficult to see them. And the Portuguese and German police officers have been using chainsaws and mechanical diggers to rip away this scrubland that you can see away from me, and are then sometimes digging into the soil, sifting the soil, taking some of the soil away. What's odd is this area is bounded by new developments, brand new villas, hotels, apartment blocks, all very, very smart. All of those have been built in since Madeleine disappeared. So the search area is constrained by that area which hasn't been developed, which probably illustrates some of the issues that the search teams are finding.
And you mentioned there they've brought in diggers. I believe there's a digger who's just arrived only in recent hours. What does the scene look like there at the moment?
They've brought the digger in to an area around one of the smaller buildings. They seem to be using it to rip out at this stage, rip out the shrubbery that's built around, that's grown around this farmhouse to enable them to search. I spoke to a Portuguese police officer earlier who's part of the search teams and said, had a shovel in his hand. What are you looking for? And he sort of shrugged his shoulder. And I said, do you think something has been buried? And he shoved his shovel into this rock hard ground and it didn't make a dent. And he sort of laughed with a wry laugh, thought, of course, something hasn't been buried here. So it's a difficult search, perhaps has been described a last roll of the dice for those who believe that Christian Brueckner has a role to play in Madeleine's disappearance.
So there's not a high level of confidence that you're picking up at this search itself, at least?
Certainly not amongst the Portuguese police officers. They say they haven't been given a reason why from the German authorities, and there's 30 German federal police detectives here, they haven't told them what, if any, intelligence they have that means this is a possible location for clues in Madeleine's disappearance. And it's such a wide area. It's just vast. And the fact that not focusing on a single ruined property, but almost every one that is here, uh, if there is intelligence, it hasn't been shared and it's not specific.
And can you just take us back through how the German police came to be involved in this case?
Well, over there to the west, down at the beach at Prier de Luge, is a beautiful luxury villa with a high wall. Christian Brueckner broke into that villa and raped a 72-year-old American woman. Now he wasn't arrested at the time. He was only arrested much later and was investigated by the German authorities. And in 2019, he was jailed in Germany for that rape that occurred in Portugal. And after that, we didn't know that this sex offender was living in Portugal at the time. They discovered he already had previous convictions for child sexual abuse. He had other criminal offences. He travelled regularly between Portugal and Germany. And that's when he became the focus of initially the German police, later the Portuguese police, and of course Scotland Yard detectives have also been involved.
And do you know what, if any, British police have input they've had on the current search?
In this search, absolutely none at all. This is purely German and Portuguese police. Scotland Yard have been informed of the investigation. They are, of course, the liaison with Madeleine's parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, who are back home in Rothley, Leicestershire. They will be kept in touch with what is being found. This is heartbreaking for them, Louis. You know, this is an area where Kate McCann particularly used to come jogging when they'd remained in Prier de Luge, praying for Madeleine's return, and Kate would come running up the black rock at the end of the beach and run in this area. Behind me now I can hear, I think, joggers, there's mountain bikers. It's a popular area for local people to go to get some exercise. Although it is scrumland and it looks remote, it's well trodden.
And so, what's the course of events from now? What'll happen next if they don't find anything, which they don't seem confident they will?
We've got 2 more days of authorised searches under the legal authorisation from the Portuguese authorities. That includes tidying up the scene. They will then look at any material of relevance that they have recovered. Of course, everyone's praying something relevant is found, perhaps electronic devices. For the worst would be remains of Madeleine. But of course, Kate and Jerry McCann still hope that she's alive somewhere. What's the next step after that? In all honesty, it's difficult to see at this stage. Christian Brueckner, as I keep stressing, says, I've done many bad things in my life. I've never kidnapped anybody and I've never murdered anybody. And so far, there is no evidence that he was involved in Madeleine McCann's disappearance.